Welcome to USA Stories channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. I need to tell you something, he said, his voice lower than usual. I chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. What are you, moving to another country or something? He didn't laugh. That's when I knew this was serious. There was a long pause, like he was gathering the courage to say whatever was on his mind. I braced myself for something bad. Maybe he got in trouble. Maybe he was struggling with something and didn't know how to tell me. But the words that finally came out of his mouth hit me like a train. It's about my crush, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I raised an eyebrow. Okay, and he took a deep breath. It's someone really close to me. Lucas, come on, just say it. I laughed nervously, still not having a clue where this was going. Then he met my eyes, and my stomach flipped. Something about the way he looked at me sent a weird, unexpected chill down my spine. Before this story spirals even further, make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for more. And when the story ends, don't forget to show your support through likes and comments. I like someone I shouldn't, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. 1,000 thoughts raced through my head. Was it one of our friends? Someone he wasn't supposed to like? Maybe even someone who was already in a relationship? I had no idea. But what I did know was that Lucas had never looked this nervous in all the years I'd known him. I tried to keep my voice steady. Okay, and who is it? Another pause. A heavy silence filled the room. Then finally he spoke, and in that moment everything changed. I sat there, heart pounding, waiting for him to say the name. The air in the room felt heavier, like it was pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. Lucas swallowed hard, his eyes flickering with hesitation. It's you. For a second. I thought I misheard him. I stared at him, waiting for him to laugh, to tell me it was just some stupid joke, but he didn't. He just sat there, looking at me like he was waiting for some kind of reaction. My mind went blank. Lucas liking me. It didn't make sense. We had been best friends forever. We told each other everything, well, at least I thought we did. But now I was realizing there was a whole part of his life, his feelings, that I had never even noticed. I forced a small laugh, but it came out shaky. Seriously. Lucas, who is it? He exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair. I'm not joking. That's when it hit me. He wasn't messing around. This was real. I didn't know what to say. My thoughts were spinning, memories flashing in my head, every late-night conversation, every time he stayed up with me when I was upset, every stupid inside joke. Had I been blind? This whole time, was it obvious to everyone except me? Lucas shifted uncomfortably. I know this is probably the last thing you expected, and I get it. If you don't feel the same way. I just couldn't keep pretending anymore. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but no words came out. What was I supposed to say? That I was shocked, that I felt guilty for not noticing sooner, that I had no idea how I felt about it. He sighed. Look, I don't want this to ruin our friendship. I swear I couldn't keep acting like it wasn't there. I felt a lump in my throat. I didn't want to hurt him. He was my best friend, the one person who had always been there for me. But now everything felt different. The room, the air, even the way he was looking at me. It all felt like something I wasn't ready to face, and the worst part, I had no idea what I was supposed to do next. I could feel Lucas watching me, waiting for some kind of reaction, but my mind was a complete mess. This wasn't just some random confession. It was from my best friend, the one person who knew everything about me, the one person I never thought of that way, or had I didn't know anymore. The silence between us stretched longer, making my C*** T tighten. I could see the way Lucas's fingers tapped anxiously against his knee, how his jaw clenched like he was preparing for the worst. And maybe he should have been, because I didn't know what he expected me to say. My voice came out hoarse, and I swallowed hard, forcing myself to meet his gaze. Lucas, I never knew you felt this way. His lips pressed into a thin line. I know I didn't want you to. I frowned. Then tell me now. Lucas exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck, because it was killing me, hiding it, acting like it wasn't there. His voice dropped softer. Now I thought I could deal with it, but it just got harder, and I kept wondering, what if I never told you? Would I regret it? Regret, the word lingered in the air, making my stomach churn. I thought back to everything we'd been through, the late nights, talking about everything and nothing. The way we always had each other's backs. Was this going to change all of that? Could we ever go back to how things were before? And then another thought hit me. One I wasn't ready for what if I was the one who ended up regretting this. Lucas's words kept replaying in my head over and over like a song I couldn't turn off. The weight of his confession sat between us, making the room feel smaller, tighter. I could feel my pulse in my ears, a steady, anxious beat that matched the chaos in my mind. What if I never told you? Would I regret it? I didn't know why, but something about that question scared me. Maybe because now I had my own questions, ones I wasn't sure I wanted answers to. Had I ever seen Lucas that way? Was there a part of me that had feelings I ignored, or was I just afraid of losing him? Lucas let out a sharp breath, shaking his head. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was trying to act like it didn't matter, like he was fine, but I knew him too well. His hands were clenched into fists, his knee bouncing slightly, his face tight with worry. Lucas too started, but the words wouldn't come out right. He stood up suddenly, running a hand through his hair. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Panic flickered in my C********T. No, don't. I'm just trying to process this. He nodded quickly, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. Yeah, of course. His voice was forced, like he was trying to hold himself together. And then before I could stop him, he grabbed his phone and headed for the door. Lucas, wait, but he was already gone, and just like that, everything between us changed. I sat there staring at the door. Long after Lucas had walked out, my mind was still spinning, but now there was something else creeping in, something worse than shock or confusion. Guilt. I should have said something, done something instead of just sitting there like an idiot. But what was I supposed to do? He just dropped something huge on me, then left before I even had the chance to figure out how I felt. I grabbed my phone, hesitating before typing out a message. Lucas, please come back. Let's talk. I hovered over the send button, my thumb shaking, but before I could press it, a new message popped up on my screen. It wasn't from Lucas. Unknown number. So did he finally tell you? My stomach twisted. I didn't recognize the number, but something about the message sent a chill down my spine. Who was this, and how did they know about Lucas's confession? I quickly typed back, who is this? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. My hands tightened around my phone. Unknown number. Let's just say I know more than you think, and if you're confused now, just wait. What did that even mean? My heart pounded as I stared at the screen, waiting for more, but nothing else came. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just some prank, maybe one of our friends messing with me. But deep down I knew better. This felt personal, and the timing way too perfect. I needed to talk to Lucas. Now I grabbed my jacket and rushed outside, scanning the street. No sign of him. I called his phone straight to voicemail, and that's when I noticed something strange. Across the street, near the corner, a figure stood beneath a street light, barely visible in the dim glow. They weren't moving, just standing there watching. A shiver ran down my spine. I stepped forward, my pulse racing. Hello. The figure didn't respond, but after a long pause they turned and disappeared into the night, and that's when I realized this wasn't just about Lucas anymore. Something bigger was going on, and I was caught right in the middle of it. My heart pounded as I stood frozen on the sidewalk, staring at the empty street where the figure had disappeared. A chill crawled up my spine, but I forced myself to move. I needed to find Lucas. None of this made sense, his confession, the strange message, and now this mysterious person watching me. I pulled out my phone again and called Lucas' voicemail. I tried texting. No response. Panic set in. He wouldn't just ignore me, not after everything. I started walking faster, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Where would he go? And who was behind that text? Then another message came through. Unknown number looking for Lucas. Try the park. I didn't even stop to think. I took off, running, my breath coming in sharp gasps. As I headed toward the small park near our neighborhood, the place was nearly deserted, just a few dim streetlights casting long shadows over the empty benches and pathways. And then I saw him. Lucas was sitting on a bench, hunched over his elbows, resting on his knees. Relief flooded through me, but it was quickly replaced by confusion when I noticed someone standing a few feet away from him, a girl. As I got closer, my stomach twisted. It was her. Emily. Emily was one of our mutual friends, someone Lucas had always been close to, but not that close also, I thought. But now standing there in the cold, watching the way she looked at him. I realized there was something I had missed. Lucas finally noticed me and stood up. You came. I glanced between him and Emily, my heart still racing. What's going on? Emily sighed, crossing her arms. Lucas didn't tell you everything. I looked at him waiting. He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding my eyes. I do like you, he said, voice tight. But I also knew I'd never say anything unless I had a reason to, and Emily, she gave me one. I frowned. What do you mean? Emily hesitated, then finally admitted. I sent the texts. My stomach dropped. I knew Lucas would never tell you, and I thought if you heard it from him, maybe things would work out. But then you froze and he freaked out. And now, well, here we are. Lucas shook his head, sighing. I should have told you on my own terms, not like this. The weight of everything hit me at once, the confession, the texts, the figure. Watching me, it had all been leading to this moment, but now standing here, I wasn't sure how I felt anymore. The truth was out, but instead of clarity, all I felt was more confusion. I let out a slow breath, trying to process everything. The texts, the strange figure, Lucas's confession, and now Emily standing here, admitting she was behind it all. It was too much. Lucas looked at me, his face a mix of regret and uncertainty. I never wanted it to happen like this. He said I didn't want to force you into anything. I couldn't keep pretending. I swallowed hard, my emotions tangled in a mess. I couldn't untangle fast enough. Lucas, I don't know what you want me to say. He nodded, as if he already knew that would be my response. I just needed you to know, that's all. Emily shifted awkwardly beside him. I thought I was helping, she said. Her voice quieter now. I thought if you knew the truth, I don't know. Maybe you'd feel the same way. I sighed, rubbing my temples. You shouldn't have done that. Emily. I know, she admitted, looking away. I was just tired of watching you three dance around this. A long silence stretched between us, the cold night air making everything feel heavier. I looked at Lucas, my best friend, the person who had always been there. He had feelings for me, real ones. And yet I couldn't force myself to say what he probably wanted to hear. Lucas, I started choosing my words carefully. I care about you more than anything, but I don't want to say something just because I feel pressured. I need time to figure out how I actually feel. He held my gaze for a moment, then nodded. I get it, and I'd rather have you take your time than say something. You don't mean. Relief washed over me, but there was still a sadness in his eyes that stung. I hated the thought of hurting him, but I also knew the worst thing I could do was lie. Emily sighed. So I guess I really messed up. Huh. I shook my head. You had good intentions, but next time let people figure things out on their own. She gave a small guilty smile. Yeah, not my best moment. We all stood there for a moment, as if waiting for something else to happen, but nothing did. There was no perfect resolution, no dramatic ending, just three friends standing in the cold trying to make sense of everything. Finally, Lucas let out a small chuckle, shaking his head. This is definitely the weirdest night of my life. I laughed too, the tension easing just a little. Yeah, same. And with that we walked away, still unsure of what came next. But for now that was okay. Some things weren't meant to be figured out in one. Don't forget to give it a like if you like what we shared today, as every interaction helps us grow and allows us to continue connecting with you through stories that matter. Thank you for being part of this community.